Valentine's season had already claimed the hallways. Pink streamers clung to lockers. Paper hearts hung from the ceiling like fake promises. The dance committee had turned the school into something that smelled like glitter and desperation. And I had already decided how my story would go. Jake Miller was going to ask me to the dance. Not maybe. Not possibly. He was going to. I had told everyone. It started as a joke in the cafeteria. Just wait, I'd said, flipping my hair like I was in some teen movie. Jake's totally going to ask me. Kayla gasped. Amanda raised her brows. Someone said, oh. And I liked that. I liked being the center of it. So I built the fantasy. I posted a selfie with the caption, Valentine's plans loading. I made sure Jake saw it. I laughed louder around him. I imagined what the slow dance would feel like. And then he asked me to talk after school. I thought it was happening. We stood by the lockers. He shifted his backpack on one shoulder. Sarah, he said gently, you're great. I don't feel that way. No audience. No cruelty. Just honesty. But honesty felt like humiliation. Because I'd already written a story for everyone. And now I was the punchline. I went home that night and stared at the red dress hanging in my closet. And something inside me hardened.
It wasn't a plan. That's what I tell myself. It wasn't some evil mastermind moment where I sat on my bed plotting revenge. It was smaller than that. Softer. Almost harmless. It was just a sentence. Kayla and I were walking to math, the hallway buzzing with Valentine's decorations and locker doors slamming shut. She nudged me with her elbow, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. So, what happened with Jake? There it was. The question I'd been dreading. The one that made my chest feel hollow. I shrugged like it didn't matter. Like he didn't matter. Maybe he's not into girls. The words slipped out smooth. Casual. Careless. Kayla blinked. Wait. What? I gave a half laugh, tossing my hair over my shoulder. I mean, think about it. I didn't elaborate. I didn't need to. I let the implication hang in the air between us like perfume, light but impossible to ignore. Kayla's eyes widened just enough. That was all it took. I told myself it was just a joke. Just a way to redirect the embarrassment. I didn't say he was. I didn't confirm anything. I just suggested. By lunch, 3 different people asked me in lowered voices if it was true. Is Jake, you know? I widened my eyes. What? I never said that. But I didn't correct them either. By Monday, someone had written it on the bathroom wall in red marker. The letters were messy and uneven. Jake likes boys. I stood in front of it longer than I should have. My heart thudded in my ears. I could have erased it. There was paper towel right there by the sink. I didn't. By Tuesday, the glittery pink poster appeared on his locker. Jake loves boys. Big letters. Sparkly. Loud. Students gathered around it, whispering, laughing. Some looked uncomfortable. Some looked entertained. I put on my best shocked face. Oh my God, that's so mean, I said. I even muttered, people are so immature. When someone asked, but didn't you say? I cut them off quickly. I never said that. Technically true. But I never denied it either. And silence? Silence is sometimes louder than lies. And I was very, very quiet. Amanda didn't sit gently. She dropped into the chair across from me like a judge taking the bench, like the cafeteria had suddenly become a courtroom and I was already guilty. My tray rattled when she hit the table. Did you start it? The laughter around us kept going, forks clinking against plastic plates, someone shouting across the room, but it all sounded distant. Like I was underwater. Like the world had decided to muffle itself just for this moment. I blinked at her. Start what? Her jaw tightened. She didn't look confused. She didn't look unsure. She looked certain. The rumor about Jake. I felt heat rise up my neck. I tried to scoff, tried to make it look ridiculous. Why would I do that? Because I was hurt. Because I was embarrassed. Because I needed someone else to look smaller than me. But I didn't say any of that. Amanda leaned forward. Kayla said you were the first person to say something. Of course she did. My brain scrambled for something, a denial, a deflection, anything. I didn't start it, I said quickly. Technically true. I hadn't made the poster. I hadn't written on the wall. I'd just planted the seed. Amanda held my stare longer than anyone ever had. And then she said the thing that made my stomach drop. Jake was crying in the bathroom this morning. The words hit harder than I expected. Crying. Jake didn't cry. Jake was steady. Quiet. Calm. I pictured him alone in a stall, shoulders shaking, trying not to make noise. Something twisted in my chest, sharp and uncomfortable. But right behind it came something else. He embarrassed me first. Right? He rejected me. He made me look stupid. I clung to that thought like it could justify everything. Amanda's voice rose, and now people at nearby tables were turning. You didn't think? She demanded. The question hung between us. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. Because I had thought.
I thought about how it would make him look. I thought about how it would redirect attention away from me. I thought about how relieved I felt when people started whispering about him instead of asking about me. I just hadn't cared enough about what it would cost him. Amanda pushed her chair back sharply. Unbelievable. She stood up and walked away. But her question followed me through every class that day. You didn't think? No. That wasn't true. I did think. I just chose myself over someone else's safety. And somehow that felt worse.
I saw him do it. The final bell had already rung, and most of the hallway had emptied out. Lockers stood half open like tired mouths. The Valentine decorations looked different without the crowd, limp, quieter, almost embarrassed by themselves. Jake stood at his locker. Alone. For a second, I thought about turning the corner. Pretending I hadn't seen him. Pretending none of this had anything to do with me. But I stayed. The glittery pink poster was still taped across the metal door. Jake loves boys. The letters looked louder in the silence. He didn't rip it down. That's what surprised me. He didn't storm in with anger. He didn't tear it apart like someone in a dramatic movie scene. He just reached up. Slowly. His fingers caught the edge of the tape. He peeled it back carefully, like the paper might cut him if he moved too fast. Like sudden movements would make it worse. The sound of tape lifting from metal echoed in the empty hallway. Soft. Sticky. Final. He didn't look around to see if anyone was watching. He didn't check if someone was laughing. He just kept his eyes on the poster. When it came loose, he held it in both hands. For a moment, he stared at it. I couldn't see his face clearly from where I stood, but I saw his shoulders rise and fall, one slow breath in, one slow breath out. Then he folded it. Once. Carefully lining up the edges. Then twice. The glitter disappeared inside itself. He didn't crumple it. He didn't throw it against the wall. He walked to the trash can and dropped it in like it was something ordinary. Like it wasn't the thing that had turned his life upside down for the past week. The metal lid clanged softly when it closed. I should have walked away. I should have left before he turned around. Instead, I stood there in the quiet hallway, my heart beating harder than it had during Amanda's confrontation. Because this wasn't loud anger. This wasn't shouting. This was something else. Something heavier.
The principal's office smelled like lemon cleaner and tension. It was too bright in there. The kind of fluorescent lighting that makes everything feel exposed. The ticking clock on the wall sounded louder than normal, each second dragging across my nerves. Jake sat 2 chairs away from me. Not close. Not far. Just enough distance to feel deliberate. He wouldn't look at me. His hands were clasped together, knuckles pale, eyes fixed on the floor like if he concentrated hard enough, he could disappear into it. I'd never seen him look small before. He'd always been steady, quiet confidence, easy smile. Now he looked worn down. When he finally lifted his eyes to mine, I braced myself for anger. For shouting. For blame. But what I saw was worse. Exhaustion. The kind that doesn't come from lack of sleep. The kind that comes from fighting something every single day and losing anyway. When he spoke, his voice wasn't loud. It was flat. My parents are transferring me. The words didn't register at first. Transferring? He swallowed. I'm leaving next week. My chest tightened. He kept going, like he needed to say it all before his voice gave out. My little sister came home crying yesterday. Kids at her school were calling her the gay kid's sister. She's 11, Sarah. 11. I felt something inside me crack. And my dad, his jaw tightened slightly. He won't even look at me. Not because he thinks I did something wrong, but because now he's wondering. And I don't even know what to say to him. The room felt smaller. Hotter. He wasn't just talking about himself. He was talking about his sister. His family. Their dinner table. Their home. That was the moment I understood. Rumors don't just touch one person. They ripple. They slip under doors. They sit at kitchen tables. They echo in places you never see. They drown families. I opened my mouth to apologize, but the word felt weak before it even formed. He stood up slowly. He walked out of the office without looking back. The door clicked shut behind him. And I sat there, staring at the empty space he'd left behind, realizing this wasn't about a dance anymore. It wasn't about embarrassment. It wasn't about pride. It was about damage. And I had caused it. I expected comfort. I expected my mom to wrap me in a hug and tell me it would blow over. That high school drama fades. That kids forget. Instead, I got truth. She didn't yell. She didn't slam anything. She just sat across from me at the kitchen table, hands folded, eyes steady in a way that made it impossible to hide. I need you to listen, she said quietly. And then she told me about high school. About a girl who spread a rumor that she cheated on a major exam. It wasn't true. But it stuck. Teachers watched her differently. Friends whispered. Scholarship committees hesitated. People don't always say why they reject you, she said. Sometimes they just move on. Opportunities disappeared quietly. No dramatic confrontation. No explanation. Just doors that never opened. I apologized to her years later, Mom continued. She said she forgave me. And maybe she did. She looked at me then, not angry, not disappointed. Just serious. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. The words settled in the room like something heavy. I felt something shift inside me. Up until that moment, I had been thinking about how to fix my image. How to stop people from looking at me the way they were starting to look at Jake. But now I understood. This wasn't about saving my reputation anymore. It was about facing who I had become. And deciding whether I was brave enough to change it. The microphone screeched. My palms were sweating so badly I almost dropped it. I saw whispers before I even spoke. I started the rumor about Jake. The words felt like swallowing glass. Some people gasped. Some booed. Someone laughed. I told them why. The dress. The rejection. The lie. I was embarrassed, I said. And I chose to hurt someone instead of admit that. When I stepped down, no one clapped. But I wasn't doing it for applause. I was doing it because silence had already cost too much. Consequences are quieter than drama. They don't slam doors or shout your name in hallways. They settle in slowly, like dust you don't notice until everything feels heavier. They look like empty seats at lunch, chairs that used to be claimed before you even sat down, now left untouched beside you. Conversations continue, just not with you. They look like old friends walking past you with tight smiles, the kind that say we remember without saying anything at all. They look like teachers pausing a second too long when they call your name. Not accusing. Just aware. 6 months passed. Not dramatically. Just one ordinary day after another. The dance committee rejected my application without explanation. Prom planning meetings filled the bulletin board. My name wasn't on the list. Jake never came back. At first, I checked his social media more than I should have. New school. New friends. Different hallway behind him in photos. He looked okay. That almost hurt more. I checked once. Then stopped. Because guilt isn't loud. It's heavy. And carrying it every day changes the way you walk through the world. I wrote him a letter. Not because I thought it would fix anything. I knew better than that now. Some things don't rewind just because you finally understand them. Not to ask for forgiveness either. I wasn't brave enough to demand that. And I didn't deserve it. I wrote it because the silence between us felt unfinished. I sat at my desk one night with a blank sheet of paper and a pen that felt heavier than usual. I stared at the page for a long time before I started. Every sentence I wrote at first sounded like an excuse. So I crossed them out. I didn't defend myself. I didn't say I was hurt. I didn't say I was embarrassed. I didn't say everyone else made it worse. I just told the truth. You deserved honesty. I gave you cruelty. I wrote about the hallway. The poster. The moment I saw him fold it. I told him I understood now, not just that it was wrong, but that it had consequences beyond what I could see. When I finished, there were no dramatic words. No promises. Just acknowledgement. I sealed the envelope before I could rewrite it into something softer. I don't know if he read it. He never replied. No message. No call. No sign that it reached him. And that silence? It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was final. And I deserved that too. I used to measure myself by attention. By who texted first. By who looked at me in the hallway. By whether someone chose me in front of other people. Validation felt like oxygen. If I wasn't wanted, I felt invisible. If I wasn't admired, I felt small. I built my confidence on applause, and applause disappears the second the music stops. Now I measure myself differently. By restraint. By whether I pause before I speak. By whether I can sit with rejection without turning it into revenge. Without turning hurt into harm. That's harder. There's no crowd for that. No cheers for self-control. No spotlight for choosing silence over cruelty. I am not proud of who I was. I won't romanticize it. I won't pretend I was misunderstood. I made a choice, and that choice hurt someone. But I also refuse to erase that version of me. Because pretending she didn't exist would mean pretending I didn't learn. That girl, insecure, embarrassed, desperate to be chosen, taught me something I couldn't have learned any other way. Your worst decision can become your greatest teacher. If you're brave enough to face it. If you're honest enough to change. If you let it.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and hit the subscribe button to get more captivating videos of moral life lessons.